throughout the athletic programs, people throughout the school, people throughout the community, people throughout the Atlanta area, people throughout the state of Georgia, people throughout the Southeast region, people throughout the country, and people throughout the world. That they have an energy, that they are excited about what we're doing and what we're building on that court to go along with the other great things that are happening at this university and what's happening in sports. And that energy is going to be at the forefront. Number two, we're going to have that player development mindset. And that player development mindset is not just about extending our left hand, being able to drive it with our right. That player development mindset is making sure that when you meet them and when you see them and when their parents get them back or their grandmother or their grandfather gets them back, that they see a maturity that's growing, that they see an eye contact that's coming, that they see that presence that's there. Not an arrogance, not an entitlement, not an enablement, okay, but a commitment to an excellence of their life, okay? A maturity that says we want to be around that person, okay? An ability to help, a want to want to help, a kindness, all right? Somebody that shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, and even if they're shy and they're not used to it, that they get used to it. Because every player that will play for Georgia, just like all the greats, all the teams that have had them before, they are a walking resume for their future and for their life. Every time they walk this campus, every time they put that Georgia uniform on. And it's not just when they put that uniform on in the Stag, and it's not just when ESPN is here, it's not just when Kentucky's here. It is every day. And to help them get that is going to be the mission. And the player development of helping them get their individual skills to fit into a team concept, so that they can move on, so like so many of our former players have, and enjoy the successes and the fruits of that. Because it didn't matter if it was Victor Oladipo with one scholarship offer. It didn't matter if it was the McDonald's All-Americans. It didn't matter if it was Dwayne Wade with 3 scholarship offers. If you've got the chip on your shoulder, if you've got the determination to succeed, you can, and we will do everything we can help you to do it. And that is so big in what we do. And the last thing is, and this is an all-encompassing statement, but there is no doubt we've got to recruit. We have got to recruit. We got to find a group of people that are going to commit to the G. I saw that long before today. I did my first TV game in Northwestern Georgia Tech. I've been in Atlanta enough over the last year. I've seen that billboard, and it's cool. And I got to make sure I get a T-shirt that has it, all right, or a long sleeve shirt that has it, because it's more than just getting, all right, the high schools and the AU programs and those players. We've got to go in there. And I hope that everyone will understand as they go down this line, they're going to have accessibility to what we're building, and that there's going to be a validation in what they're doing. Because if you're working with young people, if you're trying to help players be better, and this is not just men's basketball, but if you're trying to coach and teach, then we want to do everything we can do to help them. It might be a drill here, it might be an idea there, it might be a game. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be there. And we're going to put ourselves in that situation because this state is so good. And there are so many good coaches, all right? And it's not, well, there's high school over here, and there's AU over there. No, there are very, very good coaches, very good programs. And our job is to treat them with that respect and hope that we get it back. And as we show them that what we're trying to do and what can happen, and the same things that can happen for the kids in this program, the kids in this state, and the kids that we can recruit, and the same thing that happened with those guys that really worked and got their degrees, and right now our contracted MBA money, okay, have earned, or what they're contracted for, is $523 million. I plenty expect that we're going to add on to that at the University of Georgia. All right, and some are probably in this program right now. But we are going to help them, because I always wanted players that wanted to be far more successful than what they just were on that court. And could they move on? And that's exactly what this world needs. That's what Georgia's going to provide, because there's going to be, I want the day to come when people on the outside, they want to hire them in their law firm. They want to hire them in their business. They want to hire them to speak. They want them, okay, to speak to that school. They want them at that Boys and Girls Club. They want them to represent that company. They want to sign them for something overseas. They want them around. Not because we acted entitled and able, or we had it coming to us, but because we absolutely went out there and earned it. And I hope as we move forward, you allow me to do that. Because I've learned more in the last, well, 2 days, but I've learned more in the last couple of hours. And my head is going to need a break here at some point tonight, but it'll start up again early in the morning. And we'll keep learning and learning and learning. And we're going to learn about the great alums. And we're going to learn about the business owners. And we're going to learn about the education. And we're going to learn about the rankings of all the different schools. And we're going to learn about all the great faculty that's here. And we're going to learn about all the great people inside of academics and all the different areas that are here. And we're going to learn it, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to be excited about it. And I hope we're going to make you proud that we're going to be one of you. Because that is what the Crean family and everybody that I bring in here is expecting to be. One of you. We want to be part of this. Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you. Please tell me who you are every time so I can start to put it together.
Coach Jake Rowe, 247 Sports here. I wanted to ask, it's been 28 years since you've been to Athens. Obviously,
who's counting?
Right. Obviously, you didn't, come here during the negotiation process, during the courting process. What was it about Georgia that made you want to take this job sight unseen, without touring the facilities, without seeing all of those things first?
Well, first off, Wednesday it was offered to be able to do that, and we both talked about it. Joni had talked about it, and she'd spent her time looking at what she needed to look at, which is area, schools, houses, calling friends, and researching it like we've done in some others, right? I mean, we had to make sure we're doing our due diligence and the things that we do, but I didn't need to. We didn't need to do that because we didn't need to be here. And we're here now because, first off, in the ages of social media and video, you can see so many things, okay? As long as she's happy with the house, I'm going to be happy with the house. I don't want to live too far away. And when you look at these facilities in the screens or in the video, it's fantastic. I remember getting ready for Mark's team when we're playing in the Barclays, and they'd had a regular season game, and I think they'd had an exhibition. And like the camera, the TV, it was a little dark, so like it wasn't like you could see the whole arena, but I thought you could hear it. And I thought it was impressive. I have no idea how many people were in here. It didn't matter to me, but you could hear it. I love the floor. I love the videos. I've watched it up on television over the years. And especially this, we moved. I mean, we picked up this year, and we've got to sell our house in Bloomington yet, but we moved to Sarasota, Florida, because we wanted to have a home base. We wanted to allow our son to go to IMG and do something different. Joni liked Florida, so we've moved, and we pretty much went there after only being in Sarasota a couple different times, and that's worked out great. We had absolutely no doubts about coming in here, and I don't think we're going to have. I think we're going to learn a lot. I think it's going to be fun, and I think we are, without question, excited about making our home base. And I can't tell you what county or what town we're going to live or where they're going to go to school. We'll figure it out, but it's going to be a lot of fun figuring it out.
Coach Chip Towers, Atlanta from MassachusettsDogNation.com.
Is that your boy?
It is.
What's your name?
Bryson.
Bryson? Shake hands.
Thank you.
He drags you along. We got at least meet, right? I know you could be doing something else today. So go ahead.
He just left school.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, just wondering if you've made any decisions yet regarding staff, and if you could share any of those with us.
No, not yet. And certainly I've got ideas. And in my situation, this year, because obviously I knew the job was open since Saturday, but there were other jobs open, and there were other jobs that were situations where there was contact in different geographic areas. So for me, because the most important thing to me, outside of getting our family situated, was to make sure I got my staff situated from last year. And we didn't hit 100, okay, about 1,000, but we were close. We were really close. So the most important thing was to get them where they could continue to go. And so I have to think through that a little bit. There's certainly been people that have reached out. I think because this happened so quick, and I have definitely watched film of the players. I definitely have, the most important thing is going to be getting with them, getting on the court with them. It's not about putting your style in right away, but starting to get some assessment there. But I know that's going to be huge. And that's going to be very important. I definitely have names in mind. I think it's going to be different for me because a year ago I had 3 former head coaches on my staff. I've been with those guys for some time. It won't be what I've had in the past. There's going to be some changes, but there also could be some people that are part of it. But I think over the next few days that is going to be a huge priority for me.
Tom, Jason Buck with the Macon Telegraph. You mentioned you had admired Georgia from afar.
Sure.
Your friend
Vern Fleming, right? That was one of my first favorite players. So never met him, but it's one of my first favorites.
Right. And your friend Dick Vitale yesterday, he said that Georgia's a sleeping giant in basketball. What it is about this program that has you that causes you to believe those sort of things about Georgia?
There's so much, you know, and we'll start with this. The SEC is so powerful, and in the last few hours, you know, less than 24 hours, obviously, I've heard from Greg Sankey, heard from Mike Tranghese, which was our commissioner in the Big East, Dan Leibovitz, who I've got tremendous respect for, and I'm sure there'll be others. And I'm way behind on messages on that phone, so there might be some more. I think that the structure and the power of this conference and the way that they have tried to continue to make this something that has a real strong basketball footprint, I think, in the national landscape. And after spending this year in ESPN, even though I don't call many SEC games, I got a real feel for how powerful this is on a national level. To me, it's not having to come here and seeing those facilities online before ever walking in here. And like I said, as good as the videos are, as good as the pictures are, as good as Tim is, it doesn't even do justice to what you do when you walk out there. And knowing this area, knowing this talent, competing against it, knowing what's in this region, knowing what's in the Atlanta area, certainly, knowing that this is a national school, right? International, right? So there's really no place you can't go, but there is no doubt that you want to start, all right, with given opportunities and looking at how do you keep the best people here. And it's a two-way street, right? Keeping the best people at home is a two-way street. We can also, oh, we want to sign so-and-so. We want to sign this guy. We want to sign that guy. We've got to be able to get them. We've got to keep giving them reasons to want to come. We've got to keep looking at the right fit. But I think there's so much opportunity for that in such a close proximity that you can do that. And you can't be in this business and not and go through what you know about your own school, right? And whether it be Marquette, certainly gets more present in Indiana, and not know what other schools have. Because part of the recruiting process is what you have not only in basketball, but what you have as a university. So when you're going and you're seeing that, you know, it's very, very important. Heck, I think it was us. Yante may say different, but it was us and Georgia for Yante. And I don't know, you know, Michigan State got in late. There might have been somebody else in there. We had him on a visit. He knew what he wanted. Georgia had it, right? And like that, to me, those type of things, they say something too. So the list goes on, but most importantly, what's not here? You know, what's not here? And it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun proving ourselves right on that.
Hi, Coach. Jeff Schultz of the Atlanta Constitution.
Hi.
2 questions. I was just, number one, is 27 minutes the average length of your opening statements generally before press
It better not be. It was at some point. But I had a lot to say. So.
The other question is
that a good thing? It'd be a bad thing on deadline, right?
It'd be really bad, yeah.
What would be a good number? Because I had some issues with that.
2.5 minutes, maybe.
2.5 minutes?
Yeah.
I got to get all that done in 2.5 minutes? All right. What would be a good time to be in here after the game? I'm dead serious. Because I would go talk to my team, do my radio show. What would be a good time? Don't give me a hard line.
I'll
Give me
let you talk to the B guys about that.
Okay, all right. Did I
Yeah.
bore you inside the 27 minutes?
No,
Okay, good. There we go.
I was ready to run through a wall.
At least I didn't lose you, right?
No, you definitely
Because
didn't.
concentration span for all of us average humans is 8 seconds. So, proven study. I wasn't worried about that today, though.
The other question is, during your off year, I saw where you went on a info-seeking tour. I don't know what you would call it, but just from what you learned about that, how do you think that'll make you a better coach moving forward?
So much. I mean, I think, let me give you this before it ever got in there. Right after this happened to us a year ago, within 5 days, I'd heard from 8 or 9 of my first team at Marquette, of the first 12 guys. And I hadn't coached those guys in 18 years. So right away, when you start to, you realize the most important part is those relationships that you build. I mean, the kids I hadn't seen in years, right? And they're reaching out because when you build something and when you're together on something, it really doesn't leave you if you try to maintain it and it was real. And so that part of it, and what I was able to see as I went through different places, was that is real at the other levels too. I know it's business in pro sports. I know people come and go, but excellence is absolutely something that has got to be from top to bottom. So examples, being in a coaches meeting or being in a draft meeting, there were no weak links in those meetings. There was nobody that was coming in unprepared. I mean, literally, in the ones I was in, they were prepared. Doug could probably even speak to that more, you know, being with the Falcons. But it didn't matter if you were the assistant quality control coach. It didn't matter if you were the assistant strength coach. If you were in there and you were in that meeting, you were listened to, you were respected, and nobody wanted to filter what you had to say. And I think I can do an even better job of training the entire staff in that operation of preparation for what everybody needs. And at the same time, having some of your older coaches, because the younger coaches, the graduate managers and things like that were as a lifeline for us, you know, for our program. So helping them. I think I learned more about even more detail and what detail and level of detail goes into the great player, and how the great player has got a mindset, a killer instinct, so to speak, that they want to continue to compete at that level, and they expect everybody that can do something about it to do the same thing. And the great ones are not afraid to bring that out, that it's okay to be demanding, that some of the greatest, highest paid athletes that I've come across in the world, when it's in the meeting room of a training camp or when it's behind the scenes in an early morning workout, it is all about getting better. And I think that's some of it. But I've learned I started to learn this even more, but I think I've learned this more than ever now. You know, control what you can control. You can control sometimes more than you think, but you don't have to control everything. And keep helping people see what you see, but also see what they see. And I think that's been some of the biggest stuff. But bottom line, it's not an accident why great programs win. And I think one thing I really took from ESPN, because there's a place that's going through a difference. We had a big major meeting there, I think it was in November, and John Skipper spoke at it. It was like, I mean, it was unbelievable. He might not have talked 27 minutes, but I could remember all of it. Like, it was strong, and 5 days later, he resigned, he retired. So you had a company that now didn't have their main leader there, but I can't tell you there was one day. He must have done such a good job with the people that he brought in there that it didn't matter if it was a small group, it didn't matter if it was a different production team, it didn't matter if it was a game. Those people were on top of it, top to bottom. And I think that's the thing to me, top to bottom, no matter what, you're trying to help each other succeed. And your ego better be team-centered as much as it is anything else, because the other way stands out like a sore thumb in the greatest organizations. I won't go 27 minutes. Probably not. Maybe once. Go ahead.
Colin Hughley, the Red and Black. Tom, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all, considering everything that's going on in college basketball with the FBI stuff, how much more attractive was this job by every indication things were done the right way? There's no dark cloud looming over the program. How much of an impact did that have on your evaluation of Georgia?
It was never even a thought, to be honest with you, because Georgia was never even somebody that even considered being in that. So, really wasn't. I never really thought about that, because it's a good question, but it was never a factor with us. It's very strong here, and I don't think there's any question about the integrity of the way this program was run for years, no doubt.
Tom, Seth Emerson, AJC. Whenever you come somewhere, I guess there's the blend of, do you want to win right away, but do you want to establish something and maybe take some short-term hits, maybe the long-term program. What do you see with what you inherit, the ability to hit the ground running, and that, do you feel like there might be some short-term hits to implement anything long-term?
That's hard to tell yet. The short-term thing is hard to tell. I don't know that yet, but there is no question that there is talent and there is versatility, and there's a lot of youth inside of this program. They defend, they know how to run offense, they move the ball. I mean, come on, they've been well coached. I mean, I could go right on down the line, there's no doubt about that. And I think getting to know them and seeing where that versatility can go, seeing where the level of them taking that next step, because there is so much youth, continuing to build the skills, continuing to build the outside shooting, continuing to build the strength, the conditioning, those aspects of it. And then I think the real assessment, okay, what do we need for now? Because obviously there's a lot of players here, we'll see how it all plays out. But the bottom line is, when we sit down and start working, I mean, that's the guys. Right, and they won't maybe know that or accept that right off the bat, but they'll get it. I've been down that road. I'm not worried about that. But bottom line is, let's assess every day where we're at. I'm not one of those coaches say, hey, we're gonna not look at last year. No, we've already looked at last year because I was watching it all year, and I'm gonna do it even more so, and really have a real good gauge on where they're at based on what we see, and start trying to put those details in there to help them. But the foundation is here, and we just got to build it up. But I don't have an answer because I've never been with those guys, to see, how hard they work, how they learn this way, do they learn that way, what's the upside, what's their work ethic like. We'll learn all that. We got to learn that together. So I'll have a much better indication on that a few months from now, on that part of it.
Hey Tom, it's Mark Weiser, Athens, Banner Herald. You mentioned recruiting Atlanta and the region, being that you coached at Indiana and Marquette, the Midwest guy. How much of a challenge do you think that will be, and do you need someone on your staff that knows the area well?
Oh, I think knowing the area is going to be important. Yeah, I don't profess to have that. That's why I think the staffing of really looking at what was going to happen, and certainly when you come to Georgia, the geographical footprint of really knowing the landscape is really, really important. We came here a year ago and signed Al Durham. I believe Georgia recruited him, and loved his father. Al's gone. I think he had a pretty good year. He's got to get stronger and all those type of things. But we came into the city and got him, and so we've definitely recruited it over years. So I'm sure Christian Watford was a pretty good one our first year out of Birmingham, and he turned out pretty well. He just got better and better. He was a guy that went from shooting 32% his first 2 years to shooting 48% from three his last 2 years. So to me, it's the area. It's evaluation is what it is more than anything else. And it's not just having your ability to evaluate, but having a staff's ability to evaluate. And you got to evaluate the process, because in this day and age, if you have to talk and know a lot of people, all right. And information is knowledge. It's absolutely knowledge, and you've got to be able to touch a lot of different realms in that area. You got to know a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and you put it all together, because each recruit in itself is a case study to me. There's no one brush for each recruit. You know, there might be some similarities, maybe twins have some similarities, but they're going to be different, right? And everything else is different, and I think you can't paint a recruit with a broad brush. You got to look at it individually, and that's where having the right staff of evaluation is really important.
Got time for maybe 2 more questions.
Emily Gainey on CBS 46.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. I was wondering if, it's no secret, Georgia is a football school. That certainly wasn't the case at Marquette or at Indiana. Those
We didn't
are
have any football at Marquette. They talked about bringing it back, but it was going to cost a lot of money.
Exactly. So, has that crossed your mind at all? I have 2 questions. That's my first one.
Absolutely, it's great. I'm in a football family, and I liked football. To me, when I was an assistant at Michigan State, and it was at the time Nick had started at Michigan State. Tom was starting at Michigan State. Ron Mason was the hockey coach, and a Hall of Famer. Those 3 were so intertwined. Ron Mason was the great mentor teacher to Nick and Tom together, but their relationship has remained intact. I learned then, okay, like I was coming from Western Kentucky, where I ended up marrying the coach's daughter, right? So I had that view of it, but I learned then that it was awesome watching those guys work together, being a part of that. And Kirby sent me a heck of a text last night. I know he's on spring break with his family, and it's one of those, like, I'm not deleting that one. It was cool. You know, his wife's already reached out to my wife. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, absolutely looking forward to it. We went through the facility today. I'm like a little kid. I mean, they got the motorbikes, you know, it's like an arcade in there. I mean, that's so cool, right? And I'm excited about football. We worked every day, whether it was Bill Lynch or whether it was Kevin Wilson, to help them every possible way to build their football program. When it came to recruiting, when it came to time spent, so I'm a football fan, and it's going to be the same with all the other sports. I have, you know, the team aspect this year was being a part of the teams, you know, the small teams at ESPN. Not only did I miss my team, I missed being a part of the athletic team. I missed the recruiting and being with the other coaches, and I missed that, and I'm looking forward to getting it back.
Earlier today, Charles Barkley, he went out on a limb and said that the SEC is the best conference in men's basketball right now. If you take a look at Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida A&M just beat Providence. Those are 5 teams in the SEC that are moving on to the round of 32. What's your thought on where the SEC is right now in men's basketball?
Oh, I've had a lot of time to look at it this year. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. The Big 12 was outstanding too, because I had a skewed view because I was doing more Big 12 games, but I learned a lot from watching the Kansas basketball program. I mean, when you see the way that they would utilize 4 guards, when I say I learned a lot of basketball, and because I'd only competed against Bill once a year ago, but I had more of a vantage point of seeing that, but watching the SEC so much in the studios and watching on my own, there is no doubt. I mean, and nobody should be surprised with what Rick Barnes did. We were both in the same Final Four in 2003. Bruce is an outstanding coach. He was at Milwaukee, I was at Marquette for 7 of our 9 years there. So I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, it's a great region. It's a national brand, so to speak, where you can go anywhere. You can go international, you can go across the country. And there's so much length and defensive ability, and it just makes, but there's a lot of skill. And I think if anything that's really changed over the last couple of years is there's so much more skill in the league. This is not a league that is just full of athletes that are running and jumping and blocking shots and using length. No, there is a ton of skill. They can get to the rim, they can make the next pass. I think more so, and I think that's what keeps it at such a high level when you start talking about the best leagues of the year, which would be, the other ones would be the Big 12, the ACC. The SEC is as good as any of them, no doubt.
Charles Odom with the Associated Press. You mentioned that you've not yet spoken with Coach Fox, but you intend to.
Oh, I would like to, yeah, at some point, absolutely.
Obviously, I know you've got a big network of coaching friends. I wonder, did you seek out feedback from any other coach, you know, when you first started looking seriously at Georgia, maybe for a closer perspective on what they've seen here?
Yes, but nothing glaring. I would definitely run it by, I would run a couple jobs by people, but not too much, because you know, last thing I want to do any of it the last couple of weeks is to be people speaking for me. And I started reading Saturday, you know, in certain things, and all of a sudden, sources close to, well, I hadn't even said that, right? So I was careful with that, but I try to do, especially this year, I do a lot of my own research, but I had a good knowledge of this. But no, I wasn't looking for any dark clouds or anything under a rock, and I certainly didn't find anything. But I mean, just basic, couple coaches here and there, just getting their opinions on certain things. But I mean, when I first took over at Marquette, I'll never forget, there were 3 coaches. One said we'd never have a home court advantage, that we'd never have it there. And a couple said, you know, it's gonna be tough to win in there. They only come certain times. We started out at 6,700 fans. At the end, 9 years later, we were at 16,453, and we'd had 29 sellouts. So, like, I look forward to that, right? There's no predictions on that. Like, I look and say, this arena, it can get to a place that we're gonna work. Whether it does or not, we'll find out. But but every day to work to make this place something that people wanna be at as much as they possibly can. Not just for the bigger games, not just the weekend games, but do everything we can to make it exciting. And so, but other than that, no, there was nobody that gave me anything. John Calipari called last night, so you're coming to the league? I said, I'm coming straight to Rupp. So, you know, he was glowing after his win. That's gonna be fun. I can't wait to be in this league. I got a lot of respect for it, and I got a lot of respect for the coaches.